At this time, I'd like to turn the session to our presenters. Joining us today, we have Raghav Dhir and Soumitra Mukherji. And joining them are our panel of experts who will help answer all your questions. We have Alec Chamberlain, Christine Lackett, Aniket Lele, and Usha Andra. With that, Raghav, you may take it away.
Thank you, Anna. Let the share button come up. Thank you. Superb. Okay, so thank you everyone for giving us the opportunity to present. And thank you, Anna, for getting this organized as well. So as Anna said, my name is Raghav Dhir. I'm part of the global sales team here at Cisco, focused very much on Nexus Dashboard, and supporting me is Soumitra Mukherji, who's the principal architect. And through the course of this presentation, we're going to be talking about how Nexus Dashboard is really solving business problems. And through a number of demos, we're going to be covering off a number of use cases as well. But before we actually get into the meat of the presentation, I always find it very important to actually address why Cisco have gone ahead and spent a huge amount of time and effort in creating this amazing tool, Nexus Dashboard. And what we've done over the course of the years that it's been in development is to really step back and listen to our customers, listen to organizations like yourselves. And what's become abundantly clear is, in times of COVID, whereby organizations have had to shift their working operations from being in the office and accessing their data center, having the ability to access their data centers, etc., to now, ultimately remote working. The network is absolutely critical to a business. I would almost go as far as saying it is the most important architecture for our customers. Because on face value, if there is no network, there are no apps. Users cannot connect to apps. And actually, if users cannot connect to apps, what does that mean? It means that there is zero customer experience. So what we're saying here is that the network absolutely has to perform. And that is the value of what Nexus Dashboard is really bringing to market now. And what we've started to realize is that, as our customers are creating applications, whether they're in the traditional sense and they're deployed in a data center, or even if they're cloud native and are, developed to work in some of the hyperscalers, they ultimately, users expect them to perform, and connectivity performs a fundamental part of that. And the good thing is, what I'm saying right now is absolutely validated with what the what the analysts are saying out there. First and foremost, what Uptime is saying is that automation is going to be a key fundamental part, so much so that the expectation is it's going to double by 2020. The good thing is, as part of Cisco's portfolio and as part of Nexus Dashboard, which we'll cover off, automation is a key part of it. Okay, automation is a fundamental part, either built in as part of its own capability, but the ability to use enterprise automation tools like Terraform or Red Hat, the capability is already there, so organizations can take full advantage of that. Secondly, if you look at what IDC are saying, is that the amount of cloud native services that are going to be out there and deployed, it's going to significantly increase in size, and that's fantastic. Developers should have the right to develop and operate their applications in whatever environment they choose, because they have the right to expect it to work. Users expect that application to work, and they shouldn't care where it's hosted. And that is the beauty of what Nexus Dashboard absolutely aligns to. It simplifies the operation of the network, regardless of whatever environment it's sitting on. And that closely links to what Gartner is saying. Okay, the fact that our customers, our traditional customers like yourselves, are ultimately going to be using multiple platforms to run your applications, and rightly so. We, as your technology partner, absolutely support you on that journey, and that is absolutely something that Nexus Dashboard does. But at the same time, one thing that we are abundantly clear of is that some of our customers still continue to do things in a manual manner. And, that might be through, through manual intervention, whereby there might be some manual configuration needed. And that might be something as doing as, upgrading the firmware of some of your switches, or it might be a manual configuration of a BGP, instance, which we know now has subsequently had a significant impact on the biggest social media network out there. What we're saying is that there is a better way of doing things, and that is with Nexus Dashboard. Because at the end of the day, unless organizations do not have a plan whereby they can be extremely agile, they're going to get caught out. And I've already mentioned COVID as an example, whereby organizations overnight have to shift their operations from being in the office and being able to access a data center to working remotely. And therefore, having the ability to have a unified operation view and an operational approach to, managing the network is fundamentally key. And that's what Nexus Dashboard absolutely aligns to. So I'm a big believer of whenever you take a solution to market, it absolutely needs to align to business priorities and ultimately address business challenges. And, I've been in the industry for well over 12 years now, in sales, but, I've been fortunate enough to have met with many people of, different levels. So that would be CIOs, that would be CTOs. I've met the odd CEO as well, but even network operations. And one thing that's become, the five things, not one thing, that has become abundantly clear that the business demands and expects from an organization to deliver against is those things on the left-hand side. So first and foremost, security and risk. No organization wants to be on the front page of any newspaper because of, a hack, a data breach, or anything, or an organization that's fallen out of compliance. We see it time and time again, whether it's through some of the biggest brands out there, whether it's, British Airways in the UK, or whether it's Equifax out in the US. Organizations are absolutely paramount and concerned about, security and risk as being one of their top priorities. Secondly is agility. So the ability to react through unforeseen circumstances like COVID, but at the same time take advantage of a situation. So the fact that their developers could also have the ability to launch applications or key services for their users, regardless of whatever operating environment they choose, and rightly so. They should be able to do that. Third is operational efficiency. So the expectation is from the business and the leadership team, operations should be able to do more with less, or even IT departments should be able to do more with less. And actually, we've seen that now happening for quite some time, whereby in the traditional sense, you would have traditional teams that would manage both compute and storage are starting to come together, and that's being now addressed with hyperconverged technology. We're also seeing something similar happen in the networking space as well, with traditional networking and security teams coming together. The expectation is that operations and generally IT teams can do more with less. The fourth one is cloud, but not just any cloud, okay? They should, developers should have the right to ultimately deploy their environment they choose to do so, because they should expect it just to work. So whether it's in AWS, whether it's in Azure, or whether it's in the traditional cloud of being on-premise, they should have the ability to deploy those business in a very agile manner, so it aligns to that business. And then fifth, which underpins all of this, is customer experience, because the customers should be able to access those applications in an agile manner, and they shouldn't care where it's hosted. Okay, they shouldn't care. They just expect it to work. And if you take a step back and if you look at those priorities on the left, if you look at now what our customers, organizations like you, for example, that are on the call, have to do to align to those business priorities, is to deliver against applications that are hosted across a myriad of environments, across a myriad of clouds as well. And one thing that remains is an extremely complex network. And this is where Nexus Dashboard comes in. So what Nexus Dashboard does, it ultimately abstracts all of the complexity of running multiple networks across multiple instances, regardless of whether they're in one physical location or multiple physical locations, multiple cloud instances even, or even multiple networks, whether they're ACI or standard NXOS, but it abstracts it into one single unified platform. So what you've got the ability to do is have full visibility, full automation, and you've got the ability to analyze your network across one platform. And that is through the tool sets of Insights, Orchestrator, and at the same time, what you've got the ability to do is to take full advantage of Nexus Dashboard into your existing enterprise tool sets, whether that's ServiceNow or Splunk, or even some of the enterprise automation tools that you may already have in place as well. Again, as I mentioned before, whether that being Terraform or whether that is Red Hat. But more importantly, what Nexus Dashboard does, it solves business problems because it aligns absolutely to the business priorities on the left. So therefore, security, NetOps, and IT operations teams are able to align to those business priorities. And that is something that is available and shipping right now, and something that we're going to show throughout Soumitra's demos. So now you're probably on the call thinking, okay, this sounds pretty interesting, yeah? And I'm a big believer of, the proof is in the pudding. But what I've had the ability to do again in my time in sales is to really sit down with customers and actually understand what challenges they face on a day-to-day basis. So this is my own little bit of research that I've done by speaking to my own customers, and ultimately what they've been able to tell me is how what kind of challenges they face on a day-to-day basis. And I'm kind of hoping that this resonates with you all on this call as well. First and foremost, customers want to be confident that before they put any application into development, that it works and it aligns with all the production environments. Yeah. So simply moving an application from test and dev into production, does it align with the wider construct of the network? Well, you can do that with Nexus Dashboard Insights. Secondly, provide automation across your network between any clouds. So in effect, whether that is to remove manual configuration, or you want to ensure that you've got a consistent policy across all of your networks, or even a consistent framework of firmware, you can do that with Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator. The third one, to have a unified view that are your applications performing in the manner that they should be. So let's say, for example, let's use a scenario if a particular application, whether that be a database application or your CRM tool, is not performing in the manner it should. Are you able to provide some real insights and provide some confidence that the network is performing the way it should be? You can do that with Nexus Dashboard Insights. But finally, is the network delivering against the organization's needs? Is it performing the way it should be? Is it compliant? Is it aligning to the organization's expectations? And you can do that with Nexus Dashboard Insights. But really what we're trying to show here is that what Nexus Dashboard does is that it aligns to all of those business priorities that I mentioned on this earlier slide, with customer experience being number one. And the best bit of it all is that Nexus Dashboard is a subscription software agreement. It can be either consumed either via a subscription or a software agreement on your existing Nexus investment. And that's something you can take advantage of right now. And this is something that many of our customers are already taking advantage of as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take one of those use cases and actually apply it in a PowerPoint slide. And what Soumitra is going to do is he's going to delve into it in a little bit more detail. But if you think about a typical scenario whereby users ultimately want to have the ability to access their applications regardless of wherever they are, whether it's a coffee shop, whether it's a home, wherever it may be. Yeah. And at the end of the day, where are our applications hosted? Well, they're traditionally hosted on, it could be anywhere, yeah? On-premise, it could be in one of the hyperscalers. The thing is, if an application doesn't work, that ultimately drives behavior. And in the traditional sense, when an app doesn't work, or if it's not performing it the way it should be, the issue always comes down to trying to find where the problem is. Okay, so is it in the traditional sense on-premise, or is there an issue with the code, or is there a problem with the LUNs? Is there a problem with, let's say, accessing any of the hyperscaler cloud environments as well? Time is of the essence in trying to identify and find that problem, especially when you factor in what Gartner have said in terms of the cost of downtime. And in the traditional sense, so what I'm showcasing you right now is a real life scenario that we've done with one of our customers in the US. So they've given us this scenario here, and we've walked through the scenario with Nexus Dashboard to really show what the difference would be. So in a typical sense, what would happen is that a user would identify a problem. Okay, they're unable to access that application. And in the traditional sense, what TAC would do, or the first or second line support, is that they would try and identify where that problem is. And they would try and identify that problem by correlating all the different logs and all the different tool sets that all the different teams use. So that, that SWAT team would all come together. They would try and analyze it up to a point whereby an issue is identified at 2 o'clock. So think of all the time it's taken in terms of manpower, resource to really try and understand where that problem is before a fix can be applied at 2:30. And as I said before, this is a real life customer scenario that we've worked with one of our customers in the US. And using Gartner's numbers that they've mentioned before, the total cost of the business is $1.9 million. Now factor in if that is a revenue facing app, it could also have impact on them as a brand as well. Now, if we take the approach with Nexus Dashboard, what Nexus Dashboard is able to do is able to identify anomalies with the network. And those might be either packet drops, or it might be just an excessive load that's taking place on the network. So whereby that puts the network operations teams back in control to ensure that they're providing value back into the business. And what you're able to do is at 8:45 in this example, a load is identified. The various teams are notified, and using our experience that we've done in terms of creating this app and developing this solution, Nexus Dashboard, we're able to put some really clever correlation in place, up to a point whereby, depending on how the network has been architected, we're able to do a pre-change analysis and carry out that fix. And this is all being done before the user has been, made aware of the problem. And therefore, it is putting NetOps back in control and absolutely aligning to the business, business problems I've addressed earlier. So that was a quick run through of a use case. Now I'm going to hand it over to Soumitra, who's going to go over it in a bit more detail and show you a couple of these examples. So Soumitra, over to you.
Thank you very much, Raghav. Let me share my screen. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. All right. So this is going to be a follow-up on what Raghav described till now, and I will do the demo over here. Before I proceed, let me just give a quick introduction to myself. My name is Soumitra Mukherji, and I'm a principal architect with ACI Incubation for Cisco. I've been in the industry for 30 plus years and working at Cisco for 21 years. I write very detailed blogs at unofficialaciguide.com that a lot of ACI customers follow because I go step by step with great detail on bringing up stuff like Nexus Dashboard, ACI, all kinds of applications, everything related to ACI. And my colleagues and I are very, very active over there, and a lot of questions come up, and this has helped people a lot. So I would I would advise you to go look there if you have any questions. And also, everything that I'm going to show today, I'm going to write up over there. I hold a bunch of certifications. I've been a Cisco CCIE for 25 years, and plus I have Terraform, Kubernetes, AWS, Google Cloud certifications. Now, enough about me. So now, let me tell you what the goal of this demo is. The goal is to give you a high-level overview and walk through the Cisco Nexus Dashboard and the apps, which we also call services that run on Nexus Dashboard. Show the capabilities of Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator, that's an app or a service, and Nexus Dashboard Insights. So our base platform is Nexus Dashboard, and on top of that, we run services. And the services names, for instance, the Insights will be called Nexus Dashboard Insights. The Orchestrator will be called Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator. So in case you're not familiar with Nexus Dashboard, after listening to Raghav and after going through this, I'm hoping that you will understand what this is all about and be enthused to actually download it and try it out for yourself. Because once you do that, you're going to start realizing what this can do for you. All right, so what is Nexus Dashboard? In simplification, if you look at the left-hand side, the conventional way of doing stuff was siloed operations, right? We used to use spreadsheet, and we still do. Monitoring software, CLI scripts. The goal is that we use a central dashboard to do all this, and you don't have to jump around all over the place. So that's the main goal. And all of us who've been in the industry for a while have always wanted this goal, and Nexus Dashboard makes it possible. So, following through, what is Nexus Dashboard? Now, this is more of a technical audience, for a technical audience. So, Nexus Dashboard is a specialized Kubernetes cluster that runs Cisco apps and third-party apps and deployments that we call services. You onboard your fabrics, your Nexus Dashboard, in Nexus Dashboard, like your ACI fabrics or DCNM fabrics, and then you get full visibility and orchestration to those fabrics. Now, the apps that run on this Nexus Dashboard are very, very tightly integrated with the underlying Nexus Dashboard. So basically, if you think about it, you onboard your fabrics into Nexus Dashboard, and then when you bring up an app, you consume it from there, okay? The base container creation technology is not Docker, but rather CRI-O. So as you know that Kubernetes is now moving away from Docker because of some issues with the attack surface on Docker. So Cisco has already gone to that stage where we are using CRI-O instead of Docker. All right. So how do you scale Nexus Dashboard? The Nexus Dashboard platform in its base consists of 3 Kubernetes master nodes. When required, you can scale horizontally by adding 4 more worker nodes and even 2 standby nodes in case you need to do a recovery of a master. Now, any of you who've worked with Kubernetes knows how difficult it is to bring up a Kubernetes redundant node, right? With this, the installation is actually really simple. It takes you an hour to do it, but it's very, very intuitive. And if you go to an official ACI guide, I have write-ups on exactly how to do it from start to end with a lot of screenshots. Now, how do you know? So now there is one more thing called federation that has come up in this release. So what is a federation? A federation is a cluster of Nexus dashboards that are federated together. So you might ask, well, when do I do federation versus when do I just expand my cluster? That depends on your architecture, your design goals and all that. There is no one answer to that. But think about it this way. If you had a cluster, right, all members of the cluster have to talk to each other and synchronize and all that. You don't want this to happen over the wide area, right? So if you have, let's say, a fabric in Japan and a fabric in the US and one in Europe, you probably don't want to build your Nexus Dashboard cluster spanning across this, right? In which case, it might be a good idea to bring up separate Nexus Dashboard clusters in each of these regions and then federate them together. But this still gives you a one view. That's the whole goal of this, right? Again, I have very detailed write-up on Unofficial on what federation is and how to install it and how to use it. So please feel free to go there and look at it. The next question that you might ask is, okay, I'm ready to test it out. What do I need, right? So Nexus Dashboard comes in many form factors. The hardware form factor is where you actually buy it from Cisco, and it's a specialized UCS chassis of UCS C series, 3 of them, that makes a cluster. And you basically install the ISO you download that from CCO and you install it. The unofficial guide tells you exactly how to do it. And it's really, really very intuitive. It takes about an hour to do the full thing, okay? Now, if you want to test it out and you don't have the hardware form factor, you can download an OVA or a QCOW 2 and install it on VMware or KVM, and you can go that route too, okay? So now what kind of apps can you run on it? So you can run right now, and more apps will be coming. Right now you can run NDI, which is Nexus Dashboard Insights. If any of you were familiar with NAE, which was our old Nexus analysis tool, so that and the insights have now all been put together in what we call NDI, okay? And then you can also run Orchestrator, and I'll show you that, okay, on this. Now, you can also use the software as a service version of ND, or you could also use the cloud version of ND, which you can find in GCP, AWS, and Azure in Marketplace, okay? And this version is suitable for running the Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator, but it's also going to be actually extended to be used for Nexus Insights very soon. So how do you install Nexus Dashboard? As I told you, you can go look over there. Licensing, if you look at that article, I have very detailed write-ups with different scenarios on what's the best way to license it. And then for virtual ND install also, I have write-ups over there, which will really help you if you are on this journey. Okay, now let's start with the demo. I'm going to take this off presentation mode, and I'm going to put this on the side so I can follow through on the list of items that I want to show you. So the first thing is, it says that I will SSH to ND. So let me see, I have an SSH session open over here. Yeah. Okay, so my SSH session died, but just to show you, basically what I did over here is, if you look, I've done a Docker PS over here. And as you see, there is no Docker command over here. So if I do a CRI-CTL PS, then you can see that it gives me the output of all the containers running over there, okay? And then if I can use the Kubernetes commands, for instance, I did Kubernetes kubectl get pods -n Cisco NIR, and I can see all my services running over there, all my pods running over there, right? And then you can also do let me get back in. ACS cluster config. And you can see that in this particular cluster, I have 3 nodes, and the first 3 are brought up as masters, so you can see that. I can also do a kubectl get pods, get nodes, and you can see the same information there, okay? All right. So now, let's browse to ND, physical cluster, and show you the initial configurations over there. All right. So this is one of my ND clusters. I'm going to log into it. And I'm using the radius domain, so it's a remote user. And you should generally try to use some kind of a authentication service like that, because that's best practice. Okay. So the first thing you do when you go to Nexus Dashboard is that you bring up your sites. Okay. So as you can see that I have already a lot of sites that I've put in over here. Okay. And if you wanted to add more sites, you can certainly go and add more sites over here. And you can add sites for cloud, or you can add sites for DCNM, ACI, and yeah, so that's what you can add. So let me go to admin console, and then if I go over here on operations, so I'm opening up everything. So if I go to sites over here, first let's go from the top. If you can see, if I'll do an add site, and it's very simple to add a site. You just choose ACI or Cloud ACI or DCNM. These are the three things supported there. You put in your credentials over here, and then what you basically get is that your list of sites over here, right? So as many sites as you have, you just add them over there. Okay, so that's site onboarding. Now, the next thing I'll show you, and I'll go into this in more details, is the services. So right now I have Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator and Nexus Dashboard Insights installed over here. And if you look over here, if I go to App Store, these are the apps that are available. All you have to do is just click on install and it will install it for you. So basically under the covers, it's installing it on the Kubernetes cluster. Okay. So on operations, basically, you can see firmware management, tech support. You can collect the tech support and send it to tag. You can see all the audit logs. Now, keep in mind that we are in the base Nexus dashboard, right? We still haven't gone into our apps. We'll do that very soon. Okay. And then in the cluster configuration, this is basically the configuration of the cluster itself. And then resource utilization of the cluster. And then intersite is where you are, it's advised that you connect this to Cisco Intersite. So then in the application like Nexus Insights and all, you get a bug report and advisories and all that, PSOTs and all that come in automatically that you can see. And then, of course, administrative, these are basically all the apps that are running over there. On administrative, you have the authentication. So this is where I configured my Radius server. This is security, is where you have your X509 certificates. And as you see, I only have one local user. Okay. So generally, everything is done through either TACACS, Radius, or LDAP, whatever you prefer. Okay. So now that we've done that, let me now go to Nexus Dashboard, and I'll come back here and show you more once we go to the Nexus Insights. But before I jump on Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator, let me also show you a very quick thing over here. So if you notice over here, I have multiple clusters that I put in here, and that you do from cluster configuration, right? I have a virtual ND cluster, and this is my DMZ ND cluster 1. So this is what I mean by federation, right? I can actually go and choose this one, and on this one, I see if you notice on top, I'm actually sitting on the other cluster. And if I go to sites over here, I can see what sites that cluster has. Okay, I can go to services and I can open up the services on that particular cluster. I can go to the multi-cluster one view site, and I can see at a high level overview from ND all the information about the different Nexus dashboards in that cluster. Again, running a cluster, running a federation is not a requirement, but again, if your sites are very far away, then it is definitely something that you might consider. All right, so now I'll just go into Nexus Dashboard. I'll open the different tab for it so I can go back and forth. And I'm going to log in there. And so that's the Nexus Dashboard. I've already shown you that I can go and put my sites in. So let me just go to Services, and I'm going to go ahead and open up Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator. Okay. So in Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator, as you can see, I have the main dashboard over here. And then I can go to Application Management. So if you're familiar with Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator, you can build tenants and schemas, and I'll show you around. Okay, policies, and then in operations, you have all these, right? You can do audit logs, backup and restore, site firmware, tech support. And then in infrastructure, this is where you, these are basically the sites. Now, so right now we are sitting on the Orchestrator, right? So we've moved into an app from the base Nexus Dashboard just by clicking into it. So all these sites showed up over there automatically. All I had to do is say go and manage it, right? And then Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator is managing that. And the same principle applies for Nexus Insights. So that's as easy as how you can manage it. And you have to put a few things in there, and then that's that, right? And then on the infra configuration, you can see that I can go and I can choose any of my site, and you can see that I have AWS sites over here, Azure side, and I have 2 physical sites over here. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to go and do the first thing that would be of interest. Give me a second here. Let me look at my PowerPoint on this side. Okay. So the first thing I'll do is, let me bring up this PowerPoint slide so I can actually show you what I'm trying to do over here. So from Nexus Dashboard, and I'm going to go and show you the tenant. I built a tenant, and the tenant is stretched across 2 different cloud providers, AWS, Azure, and then 2 physical sites. So this is basically a hybrid cloud. I've stretched the VRF across, right? And GCP is going to be coming out very soon in Marketplace also. And then what I did is I built all the objects, and I made the app profile and the EPGs. And then from the Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator, I installed a Azure load balancer, an application load balancer. I brought up 3 web servers on Azure, and I did an NFS mount for the backends, if you notice, on different cloud providers and on different physical sites. Okay. And now let me move this to the side, and let me show you that tenant a little bit. And if I go to Application Management, if I go to Tenant, and here's the ND tenant for that demo. And as you notice, all the sites are over there. And then I went to schemas, and here is my schema. And as you can see, it was all built from here, from Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator. By the way, you can do all this through API calls also, or Terraform. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. So think about the power of this, right? You don't have to go to different cloud providers and use their APIs. You send your request for your configurations to ND, and ND does it all for you. Okay? It understands the different APIs for the different cloud providers. So now let me go to the Azure side, and let me look at this configuration. So now you see that I have a load balancer that I put in on the Azure side. And if you look at the load balancer, I have this listener over here, and I'm saying that if you go to port 80, then basically on the back end, you load balance across those web servers, which will then bring up their data from the back. And my web servers are actually Docker containers that are listening on port 9001. So now let me open up my RDP session in my dashboard, in my DMZ, and I'll bring it over here. And I've made a link to that. Let me make this a little bigger. Okay, so if you notice, I have the load balancer front end over here. And right now, I hit one of the VMs that took me to the back end of Fabric 7. That's a physical fabric, okay? And then if I go and refresh the screen, this time I'm hitting Fabric 8, and this time I'm hitting Azure. So as you see, this was all configured through Nexus Dashboard Orchestrator, and it's load balancing from the Azure network and going across to the different sites. So it's a secure infrastructure that was built. And very quickly, here's the AWS console showing that backend, and here's the Azure console showing those 3 web servers, right? And here, if you look at load balancers, you are going to see that load balancer that ND deployed over here, okay? And I'm going to the front end of that. Okay. So the next thing that I want to show you is, let me get my PowerPoint back. All right. The next thing I want to show you is that, okay. So again, we have now in this version of Cisco CAPIX and all that, right? We have actually have support of Prometheus and Kibana. And as all of you know, Prometheus is an open source monitoring solution that is very widely used. You can go and get different dashboards and all that. I just want you to see what that looks like. So basically, if I go to Prometheus, you can see that I can look at different graphs and charts over here. Then I can also go to the front end of Grafana, so basically CAPIC is pushing all this into Prometheus, and then I'm picking it up from Grafana, and I can make dashboards of things that I want to watch, and I can see how these dashboards are progressing as time goes on, right? You can see that my Azure and my AWS CAPICs are on, right? Okay. I know I'm rushing a little bit in the interest of time. I would have liked to go into much more details, but I'm going to write all this up, including my code in GitHub, so you can actually try this out yourself. All right. So I am going to skip the Terraform demo right now because of time, but I might come back to it later on. But basically, just to show you very quickly, the Terraform providers are here. There is a bug in Terraform that I found, so I opened that. Now you have to remember one thing, that Terraform right now is supported by the community. So basically I have to open the bug in Git, and I did that. And hopefully that will get fixed soon. But you see, the power of this is that whatever I did over there, I could have just used the Terraform script to go configure all this. Now think about that from a DevOps perspective, right? You have one orchestration. So basically, this is code as a service, right? One code as a service that you target across ND, and then NDO, and then NDO does all the work for you across the different cloud providers. All right. So the next thing, let's jump into the Nexus Dashboard Insights. Okay. So let me go back to my cluster 1, and I'm going to go ahead and open up Nexus Dashboard Insights. So I've already shown you on the ND how to choose between the different sites. Now you can do the same thing over here, and you can choose between the different site groups, right? The first thing you do is you make site groups, and you put different fabrics into the site groups. And you can do that from this button over here, and you can say site groups, and you can say manage, and you can add sites over there. Okay. Now I'll give you a quick overview of this, and then I'll show you some very, very interesting things. So what we are looking at right now is the dashboard. As you can see on the dashboard, we have all these anomalies that are showing up, right? Including some bugs. And that is because we have the connection to Intersight. So Intersight said for your release, this bug, you click on it and you kind of see if this bug is something that you care about or not. In my lab, I don't really care. So much for that. Then you can do Explore. We'll come to Explore in just a bit. I have some nice stuff to show you over there. Then from nodes, you can look at all the node information, and you can click on any of this. As you see, this is a lab, so everything is in critical condition. One more thing I forgot to show you on overview is that you can also go to topology and view the topology, high-level view of the fabric topology. Then you have analyze alerts, you have anomalies over here, compliance reports, then you have troubleshooting, you can do delta analysis, you can get log collector, and you can browse for all these. And we have enough time that I can show you a few very, very nice things over here. Okay, so let's start from the very beginning. So imagine that you brought up your sites and you made your site groups around that. So the first thing you will do is you're going to go in here and you'll say configure site group. And you start from general, right? And this is basically showing you that Fabric 8 is actually in this site group 8. Bug scan, this is where I basically say that, yeah, I'm interested in doing bug scan. So I basically go ahead and enable that. And the default is once a week. I changed it to once a day. So once a day, it will actually go through the Cisco database, look at your hardware and software and say that, and figure out what bugs are applicable to you, and then show you only that. So it's not that you have to go through a spreadsheet of bugs, right? You get everything from here. Okay, assurance analysis is where you basically turn on your assurance related information over here. If you look at the configuration, it's enabled, and I'm doing my assurance every 15 minutes. I'm pulling in from the different sites, right? Export data, I want to go into this in a little bit more details. So as you can see that I have, so basically this is a Kafka producer. If you go and do kubectl show NS, and you'll see that there is a Kafka namespace, and there's Kafka producer running over here. So all these anomalies and alerts and events, you can export to a Kafka consumer. And then in this case, you can see that I have events, audits, and anomalies that I'm exporting. And then you can actually take that and put it into Elasticsearch, and then do all your queries. Elasticsearch is really, really powerful. And then you can even pull it into a Kibana front end. And let me give you a quick view of how that will look like. And again, I'm going to write all this up. So if you're interested, you can do this all yourself. And I'm running everything on Docker containers with Docker Compose. And the code will be on my GitHub, so it will be really easy to install it. So here's the Kibana front end. And I made myself some dashboards. So basically, it kind of shows, the main problems over here. That's what I put in my dashboards. I actually found some very interesting stuff that I wasn't even aware of, that I had hard disks in some of my nodes, which were 80% consumed, right? So you can then also go in and look at all your different faults and anomalies. So since I did 3 different exports, I can go to audits and I can see, and you can actually play around with this and see that you do something, it will show up in audit. You can look at the events, so it shows up all over there. So this is really, really powerful. And then if you have something that you're doing a lot, you can of course use the tools, the DSL queries, right? And you can make your DSL queries, and you can actually get information from pre-made DSL queries. And I'll put all these DSL queries in there, so you can do configure it yourself, and you can see. I'm doing an anomaly count by severity, so I can get all that information in there very, very easily, right? Again, a tool is only as good as how you use it, right? If you have a tool and you don't use it, then it's then it's pretty useless, right? Okay, let me go back to my demo over here, okay? And the next thing that I want to show you, oh, by the way, this whole Kafka thing, I have a diagram over here. So Nexus Dashboard Insights, I'm pulling it into a Kafka consumer running on Docker Compose on an Ubuntu box. Then Kafka Connect pulls it into Elasticsearch, and then I was viewing everything from Kibana that you just saw, okay? All right, so now let me go to anomalies. All right, so let me pull up my Nexus Insights again, and I'll close this guy. And so I go to anomalies. Now I have a few anomalies over here that I put in over here on purpose. And you can, they all show up over here. You can go through it. Of course, in a production fabric, you don't want these many anomalies. I have a lot of people using this fabric. So we have, people doing crazy stuff, right? So I put some anomalies that I created myself for the purpose of this demo, and I assigned it to myself. So I'll show you that. Okay. So there's these over here. So if you notice, there was actually one more. Maybe I deleted it. I don't remember. But anyway, so if you can see over here, bridge domain has invalid VRF, and if you go look into it in more details, and if you go look on the API configuration, what I did is I created a bridge domain, and then I went and deleted the VRF that bridge domain was associated with, right? And this immediately popped up, right? This one is very interesting because I did not know about this, right? So I had a L3 out, which I actually configured on Ethernet 145 to peer BGP for communication, right? And then later on, I changed my mind, and I said, you know what? I want to do an SVI, not a sub-interface configuration. So I did that. It's working fine, right? But I forgot to delete this. And then I kind of looked at this and I said, oh, really? I didn't do that? And then I noticed that that was there, right? So then there was one more here. Maybe it's on Fabric 7. Let me go and see. No, it wasn't Fabric 8. Maybe, oh, I know what happened. I deleted that one. So basically, there was one more I wanted to show you, and that was that there is this thing called auto remediation, okay? And basically, if you click on an anomaly, you can even go and you can look at, it's very limited right now, but the promise is there, right? So let me go to this document over here. And if you see, let me do a Control F and one-click remediation. It's called auto remediation. So right now it only supports this. So I built an access profile, and I didn't associate a domain with it, and it showed up over here, right? And then you actually have a button, and you can click that button and say remediate that for me. Well, basically what it will do is it will say that this domain that you made here, I mean this profile that you made here is useless because you don't have a domain. It will go and delete that, right? So, you kind of have to look at it and say, hey, is that really what I want to do? Or I want to go and I just forgot to put the domain there, right? But the thing is that the promise is there. So that's really, really something that I think will be very useful at the time, okay? And now let's go back here to my Nexus Dashboard Insights. I just have a few minutes left, but I want to show you a few more things over here. We have delta analysis. I can show you the flows. So basically, these are all the flows. If I look at it, I can see that these are all the flows that I've been collecting, and these flows have issues, right? I can say that I want to see between these two flows, for instance, and it will actually show me what the problems are for those flows. And, you can click on a particular flow. You can, in this case, these happen to be UDP flows. You can go to those flows and you can even see how the traffic is flowing. So you get a lot of information over here, right? One quick demo I'll do, which is going to be very, very interesting, is that since I have just a few minutes left, is this. I'm going to go and show you a real problem, right? We have, let's imagine a new environment is brought up and a new application was put in there, okay? And now people are complaining that they can't reach that application, okay? What's going on, right? So in this particular case, what I've done is I have a EPG where I put a web server, right? And now I can't get to that web server. So what's the problem, right? Okay, so let's see how can we quickly figure this out. All right, so now I'm going to go to Insights, and I'm going to first say, you know what, I want to see where those endpoints are. Okay, so I just happen to know that that endpoint happens to be in a tenant which has the name FT, and I had built this tenant to actually show you flow telemetry, okay? And I can see all the endpoints that are there. So one of the things you'll notice over here right away is I have a web server and a Bastion host, okay? So now the web server IP address is 10.100.1.100. Okay, let's jump on it, right? So here's my web server. Hopefully I'm still on it, and yes, I am. So let me do a curl on that, curl localhost. Okay, and the web server is good, right? Okay, let's jump on the Bastion server, which is right here. Okay, and I'm on the Bastion. And if you notice over here, the web server's IP address was 10.10.1.100. Let's ping it. Ping 10.10.1.100. And okay, sure, I can reach it. Let me call it. Ah, 10.10.100. Okay, no good. Okay, so what is going on? How can I have NDI to figure this out? Let's go to Explore. Okay, and on Explore, I'll say, can endpoint 10.10.1.100. Actually, I'll do it the other way around, because the Bastion host, I believe, is 10.10. Endpoint 10.10.1.101. Talk to endpoint 10.10.1.100. And it says it can talk. Okay, let's go look at the details. As you can see right here, I have a HTTPS contract, not an HTTP contract. Okay, let's go fix that real fast. Okay, so I'm going to go and jump on that guy, on that on that schema for here, and then I'm going to go to my contract, wherever I put that, I can remember. Site 118, web contract, and let's look at the filter. Site 1, web EPG, filter web. Okay, that's the ICMP. So I might have put it somewhere else. Let me see. But anyway, I wish I could go fix that real quickly. Let's see, filter web. Okay, there it is. And let's go to this filter. That's the ICMP filter. Let's go to this filter. And as you see, I have HTTPS over here. So let's make this HTTP to HTTP. And say save. And let's say deploy to sites. Deploy. And it's getting deployed. Let's try the curl again. And as you see, the curl is now working, right? that was a real life demonstration on how easy it is to find out the endpoints, go to it, figure out exactly why it wasn't working, okay? Now it's 2 minutes past the time, so I'm going to stop over here. I wish I could go on for 1 more hour, but again, everything that I've shown you today will be written down in those articles in very great detail, so you can actually do it yourself. Raghav, can you now take over back again?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Soumitra. That was awesome. That was really, really good. So let me get the slides back up. So now I can't share the my slides.
Yeah, let me try to pass that over to you. I might be experiencing some bandwidth issue here on my side. Let me keep trying.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So look, I'll just quickly summarize. Yeah. So I think what Soumitra showed was how powerful Nexus Dashboard absolutely is. Yeah. It absolutely aligns to solving business problems. It reduces risk. Soumitra was able to show in his demo the ability to pick up anomalies and risks across the network, regardless of where it is. So whether that network is on premise or in one of the hyperscalers, it doesn't matter, because what Nexus Dashboard does, it also simplifies the network. But finally, if there was going to be one key takeaway, because Nexus Dashboard is able to abstract all of that information into one unified platform, it really puts the operations team, so the NetOps teams, you our customers, back on track to really deliver on that customer experience. And that's really where the true value of Nexus Dashboard is. It aligns with everything there. You can see the share buttons just come back up. So let me just quickly go through that. So in terms of how it's licensed, and we get asked this a fair bit. So we know that a lot of our customers have already made the investment in a lot of our switching architecture, which is great, and thank you for that. And we know throughout that time you've also taken advantage of some of our software capability in Stack. So as I said before, Nexus Dashboard is something that you can take advantage of with your current, with your existing infrastructure. So particularly around the 9Ks, let's say, for example, if you've already got some of the software stack already in place, you can take advantage of a lot of the capabilities, well, all of the capabilities that we've showcased using the Data Ops bundle, which is on the left-hand side. Yeah. So any of our customers, so whether you have taken out some elements of our software stack, if you go ahead and deploy the Data Ops bundle, you can take full advantage of what we've showcased to you today. Now, on the other scenario, if you are looking to deploy a new network, regardless of whether that's an NXOS or an ACI environment, you've got the ability to make a decision on two options, basically. First and foremost is the Premier licensing tier. So anything and everything that we've discussed during the course of the presentation and throughout the demo that Soumitra has showcased, you will be able to take full advantage of. Okay, so the Premier licensing tier gives you that end-to-end capability that we've already covered. If, on the other hand, you want to take advantage of the orchestration capability only, you can also look to do that as well, and that's through the Data Center Advantage tier. But I can't stress enough, what Nexus Dashboard ultimately does, it takes advantage of your existing investments that you've already got. And that's the real unique play here with this capability and technology. And that leads me on to my two final slides. So everything that we've showcased to you is out there, is shipping, is deployed. And we've got many, many customers ranging from big corporate enterprises, public sector organizations, and some of our smaller commercial organizations that are already taking advantage and seeing the value and the benefit out of, with Nexus Dashboard. And if you look at it from a traditional sense, you know, big organizations like Bosch or even some of the smaller ones, they lived in a world whereby they would be managing multiple networks in very siloed approaches to try and understand, analyze, and ultimately manage their networks in very much in a siloed approach. What Nexus Dashboard has done for the case of Bosch is abstract that complexity. So now they've got that one platform to ultimately use to manage their network. And ultimately, they're able to take a proactive approach to managing their network. And then finally, another great example of ours is Mac Stadium. So Mac Stadium are using Nexus Dashboard, so specifically Insights to manage their NXOS, so the Nexus Dashboard Fabric Controller environment of theirs. They are looking to extend it out to their ACI environment as well. So they're, we get them speaking on a number of our sessions. They speak very highly of us, the capability and the technology of Nexus Dashboard. And on that, I know we're a little bit over, but I hope you found this session enjoyable, insightful, and we're more than happy, to do a follow-up with you and your, respective teams via your Cisco account teams. Thank you.
Thank you to our presenters today and to our audience members for your time and participation. Today's session has been recorded, and a follow-up email will be sent out with access to the replay and links to valuable resources. There is a link in the chat panel. If you'd like to participate in our survey, we greatly appreciate your feedback. Or as you exit, you'll be prompted to click that blue continue button. That will also direct you right to our survey. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.